All right, so I got a 2018 Chevy Malibu I'm looking at. It's got a P1101 in it, and it's pretty consistent. If you clear it out, it will come back on the next cycle, so it's pretty consistent, which I actually like that. Kind of show you what's going on. Going to the data stream here. And I've already kind of looked it over a little bit with air leaks and stuff like that with the intake system. And I did clean out the throttle body a little bit. I didn't take it completely off, but it wasn't super dirty. But yeah, I did take a look at it, clean it out a little bit. Sorry. So right now the mass sensor is reading about 2.5 grams a second, and the calculated airflow is about 1.9. So it's off about looks like about a half to 6/10, somewhere in there. And we want this to be a little bit closer. Now, I'll tell you what I did already. He replaced the MAF sensor twice on this car before he called me, and so I'm not going to mess with that. I'm assuming he got a good one, especially if you put two of them on there. I did take the air filter apart, check in there. It looked okay. I did look at just at a visual with all of the intake tubing and didn't see an issue. And like I said, I did clear out the throttle body a little bit. But I'll show you what I found outside that leads me to believe I found the problem possibly. So just for reference, like I said, we're off about a 0.5% or so from what the mass reading to what the calculated airflow is. That's probably what's setting that's probably what is setting the code off. So I'm going to go out under the hood real quick and I'll show you what I'm doing. All right, so we're under the hood here. Like I said before, I checked all the duct tube. You want to check all the ducting and everything and make sure nothing's obvious. You could smoke all this out and see if there's any kind of leak. I didn't do that. The reason why I didn't do that is because there's a bulletin on this from GM. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. There's quite a bit of blow-by coming out of here, and I don't know if it's a PCV or if it's got, I doubt it. I asked the customer or the person about the piston rings. It says not using any oil or anything, so we're not going to think the worst. But what I'm going to do is just hook my hose in there, and you can see here it's almost 10 pounds of vacuum on it at idle. Positive vacuum. So according to GM, it should be 0 to -5, and we're at 10, and it said anything over 0 is a crankcase issue, either piston rings or the internal PCV valve inside the valve cover. This valve cover has been redesigned. A lot of these used to be plastic, and you replaced the whole valve cover, and that was the only way to fix the PCV. Now they redesigned it to where it's got an internal PCV, or they call it orifice. And it can be, you have to take the valve cover off and then you can replace it. So what we're going to do is start taking this valve cover off. I went and got the part for it. It was only $18 from GM. And we're going to replace that first. According to the bulletin by GM, it could be a passage, PCV passage, the orifice tube, or you got a problem with the piston or piston rings if it's got that much positive crankcase ventilation. So we're going to go take this valve cover off first and take a look. The valve cover off. I'm not going to show you how to take the valve cover off in this video. It's actually pretty involved on these cars. It's not super bad, but it is involved as far as taking out the injectors and at least the rails. And these cars have a one use or a tamper proof fresh air system on it for the PCV valve, and actually mine broke. See if I can find it real quick. So this This is the air intake, and you got a connection here, and then you have this one here that's supposed to go to the front of the valve cover, and then you got the rear connector. And of course mine broke. They have tamper-proof bolts on them. So what I do, I used to take a Dremel. Sometimes you can get them out, but once you get them loose, they're not hard to get out. Usually what I do is just take a Dremel, and I don't know if I have it. The bolt. Yeah, actually I got the bolt here. I'll show you that in a second. Anyway, I'll take a Dremel and cut a notch out of it, and then take a screwdriver and kind of hit it once, and it'll come loose. What it is, they want you to replace everything as soon as you take it out. There's no reason for it. I don't know what the reason is, but it creates lots of problems with taking the valve cover off. Actually, the valve cover job is quite expensive at dealer or whatever. I think it's like 5.9 hours or something like that. You can do it much quicker, but it is involved. You got to take turbo lines off and stuff like that. Anyway, what you're trying to do is get down to this PCV valve, which is right here. Now this will be recessed down in there. I've already got it out. And what you do is just take a small screwdriver and kind of get in beside here, pull it out. And you can see here's the bottom of it. You can see almost like a big hump on that. See that hump there? That's actually in the middle here. This is supposed to be clear. It's supposed to be a hole right there. And there's so much carbon buildup that it's closed it up. And here's the new one here. These are pretty cheap at GM. This is the new one. You can see the hole there. So the difference between them is obvious. This one's completely closed up, and this one's got a hole. So this one's clogged up, and that's why we're having all that positive crankcase pressure on it. So this is the PCV itself is about 19 bucks at the dealer, something like that. Here's the part number 4, if I can find it. It's 12641875. 12641875. And again, this is a 2019 1.5 Malibu. So this is the new one. This is all you need. If you have trouble with your fresh air, the fresh air tubes, you'll have to get that. I actually bought a new one because, like I said, mine broke, so I can show you that in a little bit. But anyway, I'm gonna put the new PCV valve in here and start. But I actually had to order the gaskets. I didn't have them, so I'm gonna have to wait till those come in till tomorrow. But after I get those, I'm gonna start buttoning it back up, and I'll show you a few things, and then we'll go back in the car and check the data and see if we fix this. I don't know. Like before this, I had the plastic valve cover. It took less than like probably a half hour to get off. And you just replace the whole valve cover. Now you can, you don't have to replace the valve cover. And actually, the PCV is only 19 bucks, but it's a much bigger job to get the valve cover off, mainly because of the fuel injectors and the stupid fresh air system on it. It's part of the It's all part of the PCV system. They have a fresh air harness, and they got the foul air harness, which is still on the valve cover. Anyway, I'll show you that too. But that's what we're looking at. We got a clogged up PCV, so we'll change it out, and then I'll put this back together, show you a few little things, and then we'll start it up and see what we got if our code went away, and if we have the calculated air is a little bit closer to the actual mass air. All right, so I got it all back together. I'm getting ready to test it. I just want to kind of show you a few things if you do take this valve cover off. The best way to go about it is try to take these tamper-proof bolts out on this, and then pull this all out as one unit, or you can kind of slide it off to the side. And on this one, if you come down here and just take the bolt off, there's a star bit. The reason why I had to replace this particular one and this harness here is because I had this was in here like this, and it was a little bit brittle, or the snapped off, and you know, I could just kind of get some vacuum hose and kind of fix it up, but it's not my car, so I'm not going to do that. I don't know if there's a way to get these out. These are they're called tamper proof for one use, so I don't know if there's really a good way to take these off from the connector without breaking them. I mean, you can get them off without breaking them physically, but the inside tabs will be no good. You can probably push it back on and it'll be good enough, but there's many problems we have with this PCV system anyway. I don't want to be good enough on anything. I just want to replace it. Normally you can, like I said, here's what I did on this bolt. I just took the Dremel and cut a little notch out of it. This is a tamper-proof bolt. There's no bit that'll fit in there. I don't know if GM makes it available to buy or not, the actual tool. Like I said, I don't normally, I'm not seeing 19, 20, 21 cars yet. Most stuff I work on is probably 2007 to 16, 17. So this is a little bit new to me, but I just take a little Dremel, cut a notch in it, and I took a screwdriver and a small hammer, just hit it, and they're not very tight. So once you get them loose, they'll come all the way out by hand. They're really just kind of there to keep it snug. It's not a super tight fastener. So if you can do that, get it out, you should be able to just kind of move it off to the side. Hopefully yours doesn't break like mine did. But it's, it's cheap plastic, so you got to be careful with it. I was pretty careful with it, but it still broke. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start it up now, and we'll put the smoke machine on it and see what kind of vacuum we're pulling at idle. I haven't started it yet, so I'm going to go ahead and start it and hook my scan tool back up, look at the data, and see what my EVAP machine says. All right, so I got it running. I went ahead and put my EVAP smoke machine back in the dipstick tube, and I got it running. You can see here we're at 0. Before we were at almost 10 on the gauge, so I believe we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and get in the car and reset the codes and take a look at the data to see where we're at. All right, so I just took it out about 15 minutes. There's no codes in it. Let me back up out of the garage here for a second. All right, so the mass sensor is reading a little higher than it was. You really want it around 3. This is right at 3, 280. And the calculated airflow, you can see, is real close to where the mass flow is, the mass airflow sensor is. It was about 0.5% off. Now it's pretty close to it. So I think we're good to go on this. I did drive it about 10-15 miles, and like I said before, the code would come back right away. Turn the key on, cycle it, and it would come on. And we have no more codes. So it's kind of an involved job to change the PCV valve, but is what it is. There's not much you can do about that anymore. It's just the nature of these newer cars. So it's unfortunate you got to take the whole valve cover off to fix it, but that is what it is. So anyway, hopefully that helps somebody. It's got the P1101 that won't go away on their car. I see a lot of videos and comments, people changing the MAP sensor. I would not change that. Look at your live data and see what it reads and go from there. And check for air leaks, throttle body cleaning. This one was pretty clean, so I didn't really do anything with that. And once I did the dipstick test and saw that there was so much vacuum on the engine at idle, pretty much knew that was going to be the PCV valve. So anyway, that's all for this one. Thanks for watching, and God bless.